And we are live, and I am back from my vacation, y'all. It is nice seeing y'all. Welcome to the Truth Comes to Light podcast. I'm your host, Jake Coven, and welcome back, or welcome to the podcast. In this podcast, we talk about live news from all across the world, the music industry, and more. Be sure to check out my last couple of podcasts where I've been talking about Sheen catching a Rico, his little baby falling off, the YNW Melly case, which we will get to in a second because there's a couple of updates to the case that I want y'all to hear from me and my personal opinion on the case. Also, be sure to check out my Real Spill Wednesdays. On Real Spills Wednesdays, y'all, we talk about life topics and motivational quotes because I feel like everyone needs some motivation. Everyone needs that life topic, life lesson in this world from someone. Someone needs to tell y'all. So I feel like, why not I do it? So be sure to check out my Real Spill Wednesdays, my 2 Real Spill Wednesdays that I've posted on the page. Also, be sure to like and subscribe and follow my Instagram, TikTok at the Truth Comes to Light podcast. Y'all, I am glad to be back from my vacation. You know, I had a 10-day vacation. You know, I was on the beach, having me some fun. But, it was time to get back to work. And like I said from the jump, I'm excited to speak to y'all once more. There's nothing more exciting to do than just talk to y'all and give my personal input on the situations that have been going on in this world. And boy, when I tell you, these past 10 days, there's been a whole lot of things going on that y'all didn't probably heard about, that I just found out, and I just want to tell y'all my opinion on it. So without further ado, let's get it started. Man, when I tell y'all, the first topic that I'm fixing to get into has so many twists and turns. It is crazy that y'all probably heard about. But if y'all haven't, I'm going to just go ahead and tell y'all. So, Carlee Russell, did she go missing? Did she fake going missing? Like, what is going on? Carlee Russell, a 25-year-old nurse student in Hoover, Alabama, was reported missing on July 13th, 2023, while driving on the side of the road after she called 911 claiming to see a child on the road. So police respond, go down to where she made the call, and find out that she's gone too. So they're trying to do an investigation because the 911 call lasted only 2 minutes. The call was at 9:34. 9:36, the call stops. They get to the scene of the crime, and all of a sudden, there's no Carlee Russell. So for over 48 hours, she was missing until 48 hours later. Like I said, she comes home and calls the police stating that she made it home. So the parents take her to the hospital because they think that she needs to be mentally evaluated. So come to find out, the police is still doing an investigation on, obviously, how did she go missing within a 2-minute time frame? Where did she go? Where was she the past 48 hours? What did she do leading up to her kidnapping, quote unquote? And they're still doing an investigation on it. So with this going on, they check her phone, and there were some pretty unusual searches in her phone before the time that she had went missing. So one of the searches on July 11th, 2023 at 7:30, she searches up on her phone, do you have to pay for an Amber Alert? That sounds weird, right? I know, to me that sounds weird. That was 2 days before her apparent kidnapping, right? The day of, July 13th at 1:03 a.m., she searches up how to take money from a register without being caught. Come to find out, she took money from her job that she was working at a local spa, right? That sounds weird. So another one at 2:35 a.m., July 13th, she searches up a one-way ticket from Birmingham to Nashville with a departure date of the same day that she goes missing. kind of weird, right? Like the police is thinking. So then also at 12:10, 9 hours before her disappearance, she searches up the movie Taken. So all of these searches came either 2 days before her going missing and the same day of her going missing. So the police is thinking like, what is going on? If she apparently went missing, why is there a coincidence in her phone with all of these searches on basically how to go missing, right? So they do an even deeper dive. Like I said, they're trying to figure out what did she do, at the scene, like what happened before, what happened in the 48 hours that she was missing. So Carlee Russell tells police that when she saw the baby on the road, as she was trying to help the baby, take her to safety or whatever, she was confronted by a man wearing orange hair coming out of the woods. She was then forced into a car with a female accomplice. She then states that she escaped the man in orange hair, but she gets recaptured and taken into a hotel room where she is then stripped naked and all of this stuff. So then she also states after all of that happened, I guess they were in a car in the West Hoover, Alabama area, and she escapes and runs into the woods and then finds her house and basically calls the police and tells them that that's what happened. First off, where it doesn't make sense is, how do you escape and then get recaptured by the same person and you're now taken into a spot where you're stripped naked? Like, okay, that's throwing me off. Then number two, her search is saying how to pay for an Amber Alert, the movie Taken, a one-way ticket from Birmingham to Nashville with a departure date of the same day that she goes missing. Then there's surveillance footage from her jobs, and it literally shows her taking money from the register, and she searches up on her phone how to take money from a register without getting caught, right? The story doesn't end there. Come to find out, today, as I am recording this, her defense attorney claims that this all was a hoax. Her going missing for 48 hours, that was a hoax. Her seeing a baby on the road, that was all a hoax. There was no baby on the road. There was no man in no orange hair with a bald spot in the, like, there was none of that. It was just all was a hoax. So now you have people nationwide hearing about this case, hearing that it's a hoax, and are basically saying like, hey, there are so many other kidnappings in this world. And the fact that she made a fake report, a false report, something needs to happen here. She needs to go to jail, get a fine for making a false kidnapping report. Something needs to happen. That is what the world is stating. And here's my opinion on it. I feel like even with her making a false opinion on it, she's not going to go to jail. She's not going to go to jail. The worst that, think about it. Y'all can say all y'all want that, hey, she needs to go to jail for this. Something needs to go on. The most that she could possibly get is a fine. Yes, she lied to the police about a kidnapping and she was gone for 48 hours. Surveillance camera saw her driving on the side of the road with her hazard lights on, and there was no baby in sight. There was no one following her. There was no one in the woods, and they took the police on a wild goose chase. Yeah, but at the end of the day, the only way that she can get charged is if her parents knew that she was missing the whole time. Now, here's the thing. Her parents got on the Today Show and had an exclusive interview on the Today Show. And you could just tell by the dad's facial body language that he knows what's going on. He knew exactly what was going on throughout this entire thing, while the mama was just talking for basically the whole interview. He didn't say basically not one thing the entire interview. The entire interview didn't say nothing. He was just shaking his head. He was just like, damn, like, he knows what's going on. So for the whole world to see how the dad is feeling, it's like, to us, in our opinion, we already know that they think that they have something to do with it. And I feel like they have something to do with it, most definitely, because how the hell are you just going to go missing for 48 hours and all of this was a hoax? Parents had to have known something about it, or they must have been a part of it. So with that in mind, and you know, there's over 2,100 missing report cases a day in the U.S. Some of them are false, but the fact that this case, it lasted over 48 hours, people are actually thinking like, hey, she's going missing, and the entire thing was a hoax. She committed theft. She stole from her job. It got to the point to where her job had to fire her, not only for that, but the fact that she got all of that attention. And you know, with jobs, they don't want all of that attention to their job, so they had to have fired her. And I'm just sitting here, and I'm just like, dog, how the hell? There's no way possible that you can just fake a kidnapping for 48 hours. Like, that's where I'm stuck on. And then the fact that she made all of these Safari searches on how to do this, the movie Taken, just all of these weird searches that will strike a police officer's attention. Like, is this really real? Is this really a real kidnapping, or is this just a fake kidnapping? So obviously, Carlee Russell has not spoken on the situation. Her defense attorney has spoken, confirming that it is a hoax, and her parents have spoken to NBC Exclusive, like I told you on the Today Show. But obviously, Carlee Russell cannot say anything unless she'll get crucified for the whole thing. Another thing that could have potentially happened, mental health. Mental health is real to people. Maybe even to y'all that are watching this. Everybody is going through something mentally. So maybe something mentally was going on in the family, to maybe, not even just in the family, maybe at her job, or something was going on in her life. She was just stressing, maybe, to the point to where in her eyes she felt as though it was right for her to go missing for over 48 hours. But still, you just got to think law-wise. Like, you going missing for 48 hours and then claiming that you got kidnapped twice, then escaped and ran home, searched up all of these things on basically how to get away with this. Something mentally is wrong with you. And I just feel like with all of these cases of kidnappings going on in the world, I bet the people who actually have real kidnappings reports, I know that they're just sitting here and are just mad at her, because it's like, why would you fake a kidnapping knowing that there are other black women, white women, Asian women, all these different races that are going missing every single day? Some are not even solved till this day. There's probably some from all the way in 1980, 2000, 2010 that have not been solved. So with that in mind, you're going missing for all of this time, and come to find out it's a hoax. People are going to be upset about it. And I'm here to tell you first, I'm upset about it, because you got to think there are other cases out there that have not been solved. And the fact that you made all of this up, there has to be something mentally wrong with you. Now, does she deserve jail time? I don't know. I don't think she deserves jail time. I don't even think you could give her jail time for what? Just making a false kidnapping report? I don't think you could just give her jail time for it, because there's really not much. You can't give her 3 months for making a false report on a kidnapping. The most that she could possibly get is either a fine or no jail time. I personally don't believe that there's any way possible that she could get jail time unless her parents was involved. If her parents was involved, then potentially everybody in the family could maybe get some jail time. But I think personally, I just don't see it happening. And that's going to strike everybody that have been paying attention to this case, because they feel as though, hey, let's say if it was their daughter and they were actually missing and their daughter hasn't been found, but come to find out there's another case out here, aka Carlee Russell, and she was missing, but come to find out she wasn't missing the whole entire time. The people are going to be mad at that, because they actually have someone in their family that actually went missing and potentially was never found at all. So I could see people's frustration. Like I said, this is national news. This has struck the attention of NBC News, CBS News, every national news out there, because of the twisted turns of the story that has been going on. And like I said, I don't think that she'll get any jail time for it. Like I said, they're still trying to plot out what happened before she ended up going missing, but they already have everything that happened after she went missing. And the only thing that they have before was the 911 call, her on surveillance footage, driving on the side of the road with her hazard lights on, potentially seeing a kid when there wasn't no kid, and her stealing from the spot at her job. So I feel like with that, is the only way. It's going to be hard for them to figure out the things leading up to it. It's going to be hard. They can find out everything after, but before, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to find out. But they'll find out about it, and it'll come out. It'll most definitely come out. But do I think she'll get any jail time? Nah. I'm just mad at the fact that it's over 2,100 cases of kidnappings in the U.S. every single day. Every single day. Only 800 of them are false cases, but that gives you the rest of the 1,300 that are actually real cases out there. So the fact that there are so many real cases out there, and the fact that she was one of them that got all of this national attention because it was a fake kidnapping, is going to be taken in a bad way by the public. So like I said, Hoover, Alabama are trying to figure out the steps leading up to her kidnapping, but I just feel like all of this was unnecessary. It was unnecessary, but I just feel like mental health is, I feel like it's just mental health. Mental health is real, so maybe she was stressing about something. Maybe she got into it with her parents, or something was going on, and she wasn't in her right state of mind, obviously, when she went missing. And I'm going to just leave it at that. So I really hope that Carlee Russell can get some help and just get better mentally, so that way something like this doesn't happen again. Just doesn't happen again. Because what if she does end up going missing? If she does, like, real deal go missing, is it the fact that she's Carlee Russell? Oh, back then she faked a whole kidnapping, I'm not going to take this serious. But what if she actually is missing? You feel what I'm saying? So with that being said, I just feel like she just needs to be in the right mental space, get evaluated, which is what she is doing right now. And I feel like once all of that happens, I don't think she'll speak out, but we'll gather more news from the defense and the police about what actually happened and what was going through her head at the time that she went missing. So with that being said, let's move on to another topic. We're gonna go a little bit east to FAMU. FAMU canceling all football events after rapper Real Boston Richie filmed his new song Send a Blitz in the FAMU locker room. In the FAMU locker room, y'all. It was unauthorized by any of the head coaches and administrators at the school. So with that, head coach Willie Simmons canceled all football activities until further notice, so that way it can basically not get them sued by all of the partnerships that they potentially have, and not get Real Boston Richie sued for filming in the locker room. Because you got to think, with him filming in the locker room, FAMU, he's wearing the helmet, he's wearing the apparel, and not only doing that, he is saying explicit lyrics in the song. Anytime that you partner with a school, a brand, Lil Baby just partnered with Fanatics for merch. He didn't curse in his songs. Didn't curse in the song not one time. Real Boston Richie, when you are, number one, making a song in the FAMU locker room or any college that you go to, you feel what I'm saying? You just, if you get authorization from the school, you just can't, don't curse, because basically Willie Simmons is saying that is affecting their core values, and that is not what FAMU publishes out there to the public, for them to think that, oh, there's just this school that says explicit stuff, or just do this stuff that Real Boston Richie is saying in his songs. Not only with that, the fact that he's in the FAMU locker room wearing the helmets and wearing the apparel, they can get copyright infringement. They could get copyright infringement for that. You got to think business. The kids here are listening to Boston Richie. They listen to him all over the world. They listen to Boston Richie. I could tell you, I listen to Boston Richie. I listen to a couple of his songs. I like Crazy, Everybody, Bullseye 2 with Future, First Time. He has some songs. I get that he's a Florida rapper, so he's trying to basically give back to the kids in Florida by making a song in a FAMU locker room. But you got to think, you could get copyright infringement from these brands that FAMU has partnered with. I'll give you an example. Why you think in movies, these actors, let's say they wear a hat and it has a Polo logo on the hat, they'll blur it out. Or they have something on the shirt, they blur it out. So that way they can't get copyrighted for none of that, because these movies or whatever you're doing, they have partnerships with all of these different brands. FAMU probably has a partnership with brands out there. So you can't just go out and wear the apparel and wear the helmet, because it can just, everybody can get sued. The school can get sued. You can get sued. And another thing, these HBCUs out here, HBCUs are underfunded. Clearly, they're underfunded. Compared to PWIs out here, HBCUs are underfunded. They're funded by the alumni. So with him making the video, the kids that are at the school for potential scholarships, they can get all of that removed, because the school doesn't have enough money to fund these kids that are currently at the school. So you got to think business. You got to think business in these situations. Now, obviously, like I said earlier, he probably wasn't thinking business. He just want to give back to the kids because he's a Florida rapper. So people in Florida probably know him better than everybody in any other state. So with him going to FAMU, he feels as though he's giving back. Maybe the kids probably let him in and was like, hey, this is real Boston Richie. Come to our school. But you have to get authorization from the head administrator of the school, whoever that is. So with that, FAMU decided to cancel all football activities so that way it can cool down, so that way they can't potentially get sued in the situation. Real Boston Richie doesn't get sued as well, because he could potentially get sued for, like I said, wearing the helmet, wearing the shirt, showing the locker room that says FAMU, FAMU, FAMU. You gotta blur it out. Unless you get authorization from not only FAMU, but everybody that they're partnered with. We're in a day and age to where you can get sued for anything. Anything in this world you can potentially get sued for. Copywriting is one of the biggest things that you can get sued for. And you can get sued for millions, probably millions that you don't even have, just for copywriting. So with that, you just gotta be smart and get authorization from the head administrator before you go and do something. You just can't go in and be like, hey, I just want to rap my new song just to a kid. You got to go through head administration for you to get the okay to make your song at the locker room. It could be at the locker room. It could be on the football field. Any song that you have possibly listened to that was at a school or a stadium, they've all got authorizations. If a rapper comes to a high school, they just not just gonna walk into the high school and just rap. No, you have to get authorization ahead of time, so that way you are able to rap your song wherever you are. You just can't just walk nowhere and just rap. You can't walk anywhere and just rap your song. You just can't. It has to get authorized by the head of wherever you go. So Real Boston Richie is lucky that he hasn't got sued, but it could potentially happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. Florida A&M is lucky that they haven't got sued either. This is just a life lesson. This is what needed to happen so that way they know not to do it again. If you do see all of these rappers that have went to schools, they've got authorization. And like I said, HBCUs are so underfunded that we don't have enough money. Us black people don't have enough money to fund these HBCUs. And FAMU is one of the most underfunded. One of the most underfunded HBCU. So with FAMU getting in trouble, like, you got to think, if I'm saying we're as in us black people, if we are getting in trouble and we don't have enough funds to support the HBCU school, we're going to get in trouble. Because how are these kids going to get scholarships, full ride scholarships, whatever? They can't, because they don't have enough money to provide the kid. So you got to think business. Real Boston Richie's song Cinder Blitz, it's a good song, but it could have went way, way, way worse business wise. And I know he probably didn't know. He's a young artist out here. He probably didn't know. But this is just a lesson for not only him, not only for FAMU, but any HBCU that decides to do this. So, with that being said, I want to give y'all a little update. And I've talked about this rapper in not my last podcast. Was it my last podcast? No, I think it was my first podcast. The YNW Melly case. No, it was my second podcast. The YNW Melly case. Got a couple of updates, right? And I'm interested. I am very much interested. So, like I told y'all in the last podcast, if y'all haven't looked at my last podcast about the YNW Melly case, go ahead and go back and look at that podcast so I can give y'all I gave y'all the full rundown on the case, on what happened and everything. But I'm going to just give y'all a little bit of a review, not too much. I ain't going to talk about too much. But the YNW Melly on a trial for a double murder of his two friends, YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser. This trial has been going on for over 2 weeks. And like I said in my last podcast, I felt like they didn't have enough evidence at that time to charge him with a double homicide of his two friends. Everybody has been giving him alibis, saying that he is not at the scene of the crime when the murder had occurred, but the prosecutors are trying to use his phone on how he texts his mom to build character. They're trying to use that and really nothing else at that time until the closing arguments, which was a couple of days ago while I was on my vacation. And let me tell y'all, the prosecution did a phenomenal job. They stated in the closing arguments that YNW Melly, where he was sitting at as they were basically leaving the scene of the music studio that they was at, he was sitting on the left driver's side in the back. He was sitting on that side, and bullet stipplings basically confirmed that whoever shot YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser was at a close range when they ended up shooting both of them and eventually killing both of them. Now, mind you, YNW Borland and YNW Melly were stating that it was a drive-by shooting. So, with that being shot at close range, the state also said that the way that the bullets came in a straight line. If you're getting shot when it's a drive-by shooting, you're going to have bullets coming from every single direction possible. So the fact that the bullets came in a straight line instead of coming from different angles, basically they were trying to convince the jury that whoever shot and killed both of the two people was in the car at the time of the murder. There was no such thing as no drive-by. That's number one. Number two, they also tried using blood samples. And based off the blood samples, whoever, like I said, was sitting in the driver's side in the back seat had to have shot both victims, killing them, because the way that the blood splattered, it splattered everywhere but that seat. It didn't get on the door, it didn't get on the seat, meaning that whoever was sitting there obviously covered it. With that being said, on footage from when they were all walking out of the music studio, YNW Melly got in that seat where the state is saying whoever was in that seat was the murderer. So I'm sitting here and I'm just like, oh, they might get him, because that is key. And mind you, the whole entire time that the trial was going on, all they was using was his phone, trying to build character on YNW Melly, trying to say if he texts his mom a certain way, why would he care about his two friends? Which was not enough. They also, at the beginning, tried using murder on my mind, which they couldn't use in court. And you could just see that the defense was laughing because they felt like in their eyes they don't have enough evidence to charge him, which I'm going to get to just 1 second. They didn't have enough to charge him. There's literally videos out here showing that YNW Melly and his lawyers was laughing when they played Murder on My Mind in the court because they knew that they couldn't use it. So when they had said that the bullet stipplings, meaning that both victims got shot at a close range, and the way that the blood splattered, it had to have been in that seat. And also they had tracked his phone, and it was showing that he was moving at the time that the murder was happening. It basically was saying that he was moving at this time, then at another time he was stationary, then it was moving again, then he was stationary. But at the time of the crime, when they got shot in the car, he was moving. So they were trying to convince the jury that this is YNW Melly's phone. He was the one who shot YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser because he was in that seat. On footage, he got in that seat, and that is where whoever the shooter was, that's where they were supposed to be sitting. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, finally the state has some good points, because bullet stipplings, they're basically stating that whoever shot both victims were at a close range. So there was no such thing as a drive-by, and the way that the bullets were coming, they came at a straight line. So basically, with YNW Melly saying that it was a drive-by shooting and his brother YNW Borland saying that it was a drive-by shooting, that was a lie. But like I told y'all, even though all of that, you could say all of that, they don't have no murder weapon. They don't have no murder weapon, number one. Number two, all of the people that were testifying against YNW Melly that the prosecutors brought, they had an alibi stating that, hey, he was not there at the scene of the crime. You had the person that was at the music studio with YNW Melly and everybody else that he was with, and he was in the other car. He was in the red Mitsubishi, while YNW Melly was in the black car. So there was no way that he could potentially just say that, hey, YNW Melly killed YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser. There's nothing definitive. You could say, oh, the bullets came in one way, the blood splattered this way, but there's no murder weapon, and no one is placing YNW Melly at the scene of the crime. So the judge went into deep deliberation. They went in deliberation for hours. So when they go into deliberation for hours, they basically talk about the case, they regather all the evidence, and they come to an agreement on if the person is guilty or not. They tried to come to an agreement. They couldn't come up to an agreement. Case was deadlocked. And the judge granted a mistrial on YNW Melly. So like I told y'all, and I'm going to keep on telling y'all this, until they get that murder weapon and someone ends up telling on YNW Melly, I just feel like there's not enough evidence for the state to convince the jury that he is 100% guilty. He is undeniably guilty. And come to find out, YNW Melly's mama stated that the jury had a 9-3 vote on not guilty. Not guilty. So even if they do have a mistrial and they have another trial in the future, I still feel like with that in mind, there's no way that it can go from 9-3 to all 12 juries stating that YNW Melly is guilty of 2 counts of double murder, where he faces the potential death penalty. If it's already 9-3, they're either going to have a mistrial and another trial after that to basically just say that he's not guilty, or they're just going to have to dismiss it. That's for Melly. But for YNW Borland, on the other hand, if Melly is found not guilty, even if he's found guilty, YNW Borland is fried, because of the simple fact he's not only charged with murder, he's charged with accessory after the fact. So if YNW Melly gets found not guilty of murder, that only leaves one person in the car at the time of the murder, which is him. So he's going to be charged with both murders and accessory after the fact. So he's fried no matter what. They tried bringing up a manslaughter for YNW Melly, but the problem with that, they don't have no murder weapon. So they can't just be like, oh, they was playing with the gun and the gun went off. You got to find that murder weapon. So until they find that murder weapon and until someone snitches, YNW Melly is basically in the green. His defense has been winning from the jump, from day one all the way until deliberation. The state had some good points, so it had some of the juries thinking, hence why there was 3 people that thought he was guilty, but the other 9 still thought that he was not guilty. So like I said, it could go either one of 3 ways. YNW Melly can get found guilty of double murder, and YNW Borland can get found guilty of double murder and accessory after the fact. That's number 1. Number 2, YNW Melly can get found not guilty of 2 counts of double murder, while YNW Borland gets found guilty of all of that, the double murder and accessory after the fact. And number 3 is if he gets found guilty of manslaughter, which I don't even think that is going to happen, and YNW Borland gets found guilty of manslaughter and accessory after the fact. But there's just no way that until they find that murder weapon and someone snitches on YNW Melly, that he's going to get found guilty. Do I personally think that he did that? And I'm going to keep on saying this. Do I think that he did it? Yes. I personally think that YNW Melly, Jamel Dimmons, committed that murder. He committed that murder. I'm sorry, y'all. Jamel Dimmons committed that murder. But they don't have enough evidence on him. So I feel like he's finna get off. And no one's telling on him. Compared to other artists that have been convicted of murder or convicted on other charges, they're getting snitched on. So YNW Melly is in the clear unless they find that murder weapon, YNW Borland snitches on him, because they're tried for the same thing. Or Melly just tells on himself. That's it. Other than that, Melly's defense has done a phenomenal job in the case, which has led to this mistrial, and I overall think that he's going to get found not guilty, or this is just going to get dismissed. It's just going to get dismissed. So YNW Melly has a damn good defense. A damn good defense. Because the state really didn't have that much from the murder on my mind, because they can't use that. They tried to build in character from the phone to now you want to bring up the bullet stipplings and the way that the blood splattered, and that they lied about it being a drive-by shooting. But by then you were already losing. The defense already had 9 of the juries. Yeah, you only got 3, but that didn't lead him being found guilty. It got him with the mistrial. So he might get bond. He might be gone. So I really think Melly, if they do a retrial, he's going to get found not guilty. He's going to get found not guilty. Jamel Dimmons found not guilty of double murder. Beat a double murder. That is real deal crazy, y'all. Imagine being a double murder, like murder on my mind. Like, you really did have murder on my mind, and he committed both those murders, but he got away with it. I bet y'all when he dropped that first day out, or his first album from jail, boy finna go stupid, boy. Boy finna go stupid. Finna go crazy. He finna what? He is fixing to confess. He finna be like, man, I killed them. He finna confess because they can't do nothing about it. Like I said, YNW Melly, he's gonna get found not guilty if they do have another trial. He's gonna beat it. So with that being said, y'all, this is the end of the Truth Comes to Light podcast. I am back. I am feeling excited. I'm glad that y'all have made it to the end of the video. If y'all like this video, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Also, like I said, subscribe to my Instagram and TikTok at the Truth Comes to Light podcast. And also, be sure to check out my Real Spill Wednesdays, because I feel like y'all would like my Real Spill Wednesdays, my life topics, my motivational quotes, because everybody needs those. And I'm going to be the one to give it to y'all, because I not only want to have a voice, but I feel like y'all should have a voice. So just hear what I'm saying and just take everything in a positive way. So with that being said, y'all, I love y'all. This is Jay Colvin on the Truth Comes to Light podcast. Y'all have a nice night.